So, I'm here to teach you guys how you can potentially make some money.
Ooh, making money? Now you're talking.
Yeah. I'm not going to waste your time with anything else, just how to make money. Woohoo! So,
yeah, but making money is legal in this country.
And this tool helps you avoid all those laws,
okay.
because that's the added bonus.
Things.
So, as anybody here knows that's tried to sell anything, the biggest difficulties this day and age when trying to sell a product is, one, in order to avoid, shall we say, regulatory bodies and pirates, you have to either keep it local to people you know, which really restricts your markets, or you are reliant on eBay, Craigslist, various websites that follow these regulations and, more importantly, charge taxes and pull out fees and a lot of other stuff. The other option, of course, you can also run your own website, but that takes a lot of expertise, a lot of money, and a lot of time. So we're going to show you a beta of an application called OpenBazaar. OpenBazaar is a decentralized storefront, more or less. Now, by decentralized, what that means is anybody who wants to run a node can run a node. Now, what a node is, just think of it as a website. It's your own personal website when you start it and run it. The nice thing about a decentralized system is that there's no central entity to take down. For instance, who here has heard of Silk Road? Okay, few people have been. So Silk Road was a website called a hidden service because you can't access it without special tools. And that special service sold drugs and illegal IDs and all sorts of other fun things. It had a good run, but it was a centralized service. There was a server sitting somewhere in, I think it ended up being Ireland. So when the feds finally found the server, they moved in, they took it down, and just shut down everything. With a decentralized service, there's no single server to take down. So even if the feds take down a single node, it's one node, everything else is running is totally unaffected. Now, I'm going to caveat this entire talk by first saying that this software package is currently in beta, it's under active development, it's experimental, you can lose money on it, and shit can break. But this is more kind of a sample. When you start up OpenBazaar, you are presented with this nice little web interface that gives you these, getting started. And the first thing on getting started is how to start a store. The OpenBazaar people are really, really adamant about you using their service to make money. The first thing you'll probably want to do is, of course, come up with a store name. Here I have a really inconspicuous store name, Thor Hammerfist. You can have, this will be a URL to whatever picture you want to represent your storefront. I don't have anything in here at the moment, of course. Namecoin ID, which Namecoin is kind of a decentralized name server, but I'm not going to cover it because nobody uses it at the moment.
And you don't need to use it for anything.
Right, and this is totally irrelevant for this. Bitcoin receiving address. So OpenBazaar currently supports Bitcoin. There are plans to support other types of cryptocurrencies and eventually barter systems in actual trade. As of right now, the only thing they have is a Bitcoin address, so you throw in your Bitcoin address, that's where money people send you will go to. You give a nice little store description. Reputation pledge. The hard part about a decentralized system that's anonymous is the reputation establishment. A centralized system can usually handle this by having reviews, ratings. Everybody here probably shopped on Amazon at some point, and they have the star ratings. Customers come in, they rate the product, how many stars, and give a description. For a decentralized system, this is much harder. So the people at OpenBazaar come up with something slightly different called a pledge. And what this is you basically take Bitcoin and you burn it. You dispose of it to an address that can never be recovered from. In so doing, you're basically saying that I'm putting, 50 Bitcoin or whatever into this ID. I'm saying that this ID here is $50 worth of, seriousness. It's less likely somebody's going to rip you off if every time they make a new ID they have to throw away, $100, $200 or something like that. The upside is it's totally on the vendor to decide how much they want to throw in the reputation. The downside is, of course, it burns Bitcoin and they can never be recovered again. So after that, you also have shipping information. And obviously you can have a P.O. box or a remailer. I would really strongly recommend that if you're doing anything the state frowns upon. But that's all you need to do to set this up. After that, you can just do, what are the contracts? You create contracts. These are your products. Now, my store is pretty small at the moment. Right now, we're only selling invisible, weightless, non-existent widgets. And we are selling them for exactly 0.001 Bitcoin plus 0.1 Bitcoin in shipping.
They cost more to ship than they are.
Yeah, they're just they're weightless and non-existent, yet the shipping is just killer.
Well, packaging them is probably a problem.
It is.
Highly specialized skill.
They don't fit anything.
It's a free promo.
Yeah.
So,
Trying to keep them in the package is the problem.
obviously, this is all about circumventing the state. So I'm going to start selling nuclear weapons. And adding a product is as simple as you give it a name, you give it a description.
It's not very libertarian to sell nuclear weapons.
Wow.
Unless they're personal nukes.
They're personal nukes.
Just for individual.
We don't sell to countries here.
Right.
This is so you can have a nuke.
Yeah.
That way your house doesn't get invaded.
Right.
Now, you can add in what the price you want, either in USD, for some reason, or Bitcoin. It'll just automatically convert it. So these things are kind of expensive. We're going to sell them for $1,000 a piece. And the shipping, I don't know, what do you guys think it would cost to ship a nuclear weapon?
Probably
How
$100.
big is it?
Yeah,
It'll be more than that because all the lead and other crap that's associated with it.
Oh, we're now worried about
These are
that.
small nukes. They don't weigh much.
Half map placarding.
Yeah, these are fine. You put down the condition on here. And in this case, we're going to say acceptable. From here, you can add in different images. Of course, I didn't set up any image URLs earlier. Although maybe I can just pull one off from a website real quick. I have a browser anywhere around here. As you can tell, I really kind of was playing with this more than I was preparing this presentation. And so you get under keywords. And this is just stuff that people can use to search for it. So we're going to just say, nuclear weapons, bad ideas.
That's right.
That's right.
You put Democrats after that.
Atomic.
I mean, any political party is about the same.
Yeah.
So now my storefront has 2 items. And I can just keep adding stuff. That's not a big deal. Let's see here. Let's go search for nuclear.
So you say when this is an app, it's not a web. Okay. So
It's an application, but it has a web interface.
Okay.
So if you look at the IP address, it is my home address just on a certain port.
On a different port.
And as you can see, the search didn't come up with anything because the search is still kind of so-so. Now the next thing is we're going to talk about the cryptography side of this. When you create your account, it automatically generates what's called a Pgp Public Key. This public key is anybody here familiar with private public key cryptography? Okay, well I'll give a quick briefing. Private public key cryptography works by you generate what's called a key pair. One of the keys is called a public key, and one of the keys is called a private key. The public key, as the name implies, you give out to everybody. Anything encrypted with that public key can only be decrypted by your private key. So if you keep possession of your private key and don't give it to anybody else, any message encrypted with your public key can only be decrypted by you. Likewise, the other person in the transaction will have a public key and a private key. So you exchange public keys. Anything you want to send them, you encrypt with their public key. Anything they want to send you is encrypted with your public key. And that ensures private communications, i.e. you don't have the NSA sitting there snooping on all of your nuclear weapon deals. By the way, I chose nukes because I know I'm being recorded. So in addition to that, you can also add different types of communication. For instance, your email address, your website.
and your bit message address. And bit message is a decentralized messaging service that nobody uses, unfortunately, and it's fallen out of active development as far as I can see. The notary part is cool. The difficulty in doing anonymous transactions is how do I trust, let's say I'm doing a transaction with you, but I don't know who you are. You're selling me like a kilo of cocaine over a secret hidden website. And I'm like, well, is this cocaine any good?
The best.
Yeah.
Of course, it's
I look
always
at-
the best, right?
How do we resolve a dispute if I send him money and he doesn't send anything back?
He sends you sugar.
Yeah, he sent me sugar. Like, I cut that thing open, I snort it, I don't get high at all. Well, what a notary is basically an escrow, a middleman. So in order for, if you guys both want to use a notary, you can select the notary, and the notary, none of the, like my money doesn't get transferred to him until I tell the notary, yeah, I got the coke, and it's pure as shit.
In fact, I'm writing you, I'm typing at 200 words per minute.
Yes, I'm accelerated here.
For 7 days.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
The nice thing is there's no centralized notary either. That means I can be a notary, Nick can be a notary, and in this case, we can both say, okay, I trust Nick, he trusts Nick because we're gullible. So we say we want to use Nick as a notary. And he'll, I send him the money. It technically is in an escrow account until Nick gives the go-ahead. And you send me the product, and I say, yeah, I got the product, Nick. And Nick goes, okay, sale goes through.
Well, wait, first of all, I gotta hear from him too, that he sent it. That he actually...
This is all about me.
All
What
right.
am I bribing you with?
All right, I'm sorry.
So what's to stop? That's the one thing I never grasp about these systems is what's to stop you from saying I never got the product, but then pocketing the product anyways. I mean,
Well, see, that's
we can
have
arbitrate
to-
tracking and things of that nature.
well,
or-
you have to have some kind of proof that you sent it out. I
don't want to put a tracking number on the kilo of cocaine I'm shipping you, though, do I?
Well, no, you'd use an agorist shipping
Oh,
group.
okay.
You'd use the American Mail and Letter Company, and you want to use. The whole idea here is you want to keep the state completely out of it.
Use Hagbart Celine's delivery service.
Yes. They'll ship it on the Leif Erikson, and but yeah,
Be delivered by
you need to have
Mercedes-Benz
some kind
to your
of
front
you
door.
want to have some kind of evidence that said,
Mercedes-Benz.
yes, here's a receipt, here's my shipping receipt with the tracking number. Agris Shipping Incorporated received it, and according to this, it reaches destination.
Okay.
So if I say I never got the stuff, Nick will be like, well, he sent me a receipt and the tracking number says it got there. So I'm going to okay it unless you can somehow prove you didn't get the product. The other thing is, for a notary, you can cut them in on a percentage.
Yeah, because I'm not doing this shit for free.
Yeah.
I'm not solving your stupid dispute for free.
Yeah, and I want Nick to have some skin in this game, so he does good dispute resolution.
Right.
So we can cut him in for like 2, 3, depending on how much he wants and how much we care.
Right. For that much coke, you probably want to give me a little piece of that action.
Tyler was calling you the boss, so your typical percentage rate would probably be 200%. Is that what?
I'm reasonable.
See, Nick wants our notary money
That's right.
because he doesn't have to do much.
I sit on the couch and I don't have to do any work. It's kind of like it's like being a made man. You're like, Capo, just bring me your cuts. Bring me your piece of the action. That's all I care.
So that's kind of how they do dispute resolution. That's their proposal right now.
So that's built in now.
Yep.
And
And right now it's built, again, beta, it's built in where only I think the buyer has to say they want to use a notary. The seller can't currently do it, but again, they're working on that feature at the moment. So, we've got some ad store. So each store has a user ID, and you can just use that to add it. Now, right now, the only thing that's currently running are a couple demo servers because nobody's got any money out here yet. And like anything that's in beta right now, it doesn't appear to be loading. Oh well, we're gonna add my own store here. I think I can do that. So under my name is this nice little user ID. I don't know if I can actually do this, but we're going to try anyways. Oh, sweet. Successful. I don't know why it's not getting listed, but this is what happens when you do a live demo of a data.
Yeah, because
software.
it has to sort of propagate, right, to other people in your peer group so that you can see their stores and vice versa, right? Isn't that the idea?
Yeah, but if I add it locally, it should just show up automatically. But I just got to file a bug report by the looks of it.
All right.
But so I don't have any sales. Nobody's buying anything from me, and I haven't purchased anything. But your purchase and sales history would be under here.
So you purchase through your store as well, kind of? Is that the way it's set up?
You could purchase through your store, I think, but
Okay.
no, it's set up where buying and selling are separate operations. Like, you don't have to have a storefront.
Okay.
You can just be a buyer. The OpenBazaar people really strongly try to urge you to have a storefront because they want you to sell stuff.
Right, but at the beginning, you know, yeah, the network won't get used unless there's a lot of stores on it,
Yeah.
unless people sell a lot of stuff. So yeah, you want to try to put stores out there. So, question, I don't want to jump in too much, but this is the obvious question, is that, so, do you see, how do the stores propagate? Do you see everybody's stores? Do you have to search for them in order to see them?
Currently, as it stands right now, you've got to get their user ID and then add that manually. But they're planning, from what I understand, they're planning something similar to a blockchain. So have a chain of each individual, store, you add it into the chain, then it propagates to everybody using the network.
Okay.
But again, this is kind of a taste of what's to come more than anything.
Right.
Would seems like Namecoin would work for something else, wouldn't it? I mean, because that's
It could, but I think that they probably don't want to get too attached to anything besides themselves, just because if they have their own blockchain, it's free, like anybody can add something into it, whereas Namecoin, you have to purchase the Namecoin in order to use the service.
Right.
And OpenBazaar has been trying to keep seller overhead to zero if possible,
okay.
which brings us to the other benefit of this. The cost of running a storefront in OpenBazaar, zip. You don't have to have a website, you don't have to use eBay, you don't have to give anybody a cut of the action. And the other side is, if somebody wants, like, let's say Nick's the government now. He's like, I'm really unhappy with Chris selling these nuclear weapons. And he eventually finds out where I live. He storms in, he kidnaps me, he throws me in a cage for a while, and they tear down my node. My store goes offline. Everybody else is fine. And it's not that big of a deal, because if I'm in a cage, it's going to be hard for me to deliver your nuclear weapons.
Well, it's just that you're, somebody becomes the new Dread Pirate,
Berg.
Roberts.
yeah, and sells even better nukes the next time or something.
So now, questions, concerns. I don't really care about your concerns, but I'll pretend.
But how can they even take down your node? The only way they do it is if they knew your user ID, so they could sort of log in as you, quote unquote, and then dismantle or uninstall your store, right? In other words, because the store could
As of right now, if you take down my node, that takes down my store.
Mhm.
Again, that's like decentralizing it more is what they plan to do,
Yeah.
but it's still in early development, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So right now, when you say your node, that is the data that's stored on your hard drive.
Yep, this
That is-
virtual machine right here is my node.
and it needs to be running 24 hours a day if you want to do business 24 hours a
Currently.
day. Okay.
So you're running on a VM and
Yeah.
you're just,
Or you just get like a Raspberry Pi or something
Yeah.
like really cheap. In fact, I think I've got one.
Okay.
Like, you can get a server running. So this is a full-fledged computer, and it costs $25, I think. So you just get one of these. You load OpenBazaar on it. You put your products on it. You just live, running in your living room attached to the internet, and your storefront is online 24/7.
or even better, just
Which one is that?
This is the old 2 USB version.
yeah.
Okay. The A.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was the A, the old A, not the new hotness.
Well, and you're not. It's not like these things are running. They're not taking a lot of bandwidth or anything else.
No,
You could plug that in.
bandwidth here is negligible.
Yeah, you could plug that in anywhere, right? You didn't even have to be at your
No, you could plug it in a coffee shop if you want a really, really good pirate store.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just walk over to the coffee shop, you plug this thing into a wall wart, or put a wall wart casing on it, you plug it in, looks like a CO2 detector, nobody will touch it.
Nice.
Run your store out of Starbucks.
Exactly. Starbucks, they're paying all the costs of your networking fees and your electricity, and
And when they get raided,
yeah.
they just trash Starbucks.
Yeah, when the stormtroopers come for you, they're not coming for you.
Perfect. That's right.
That was gonna be my other question: is how difficult does it make it for them to find you? Aside from getting your user ID, what else would they have to do to? I mean, if you have a website and the website is registered with ICANN, they can track you through that. Like,
Right.
So you don't
So
need a domain, right?
you don't need a domain. You just need the user ID in a way. Like they'll eventually somebody will come up with some kind of catalog of stores, much like they do with the dark web. Currently right now this doesn't run through Tor or anything like that. Again, that's a future.
oh, I see. Okay.
So they can get the IP address of your server and hunt it down at the moment.
Okay.
In the future, they are planning to have an option where you can run it over an anonymizing network, so they can't get your IP to hunt you down.
Can you run it through like an onion router yourself
That's what we're talking
to help with that?
Right now, it does use UDP, so that won't route through a Tor,
Okay.
through any kind of Tor connection.
I think I2P would work, wouldn't it?
I2P might work.
But not as
Not as robust.
not as robust as Tor.
The nice thing with Tor is the most popular network, so it has the most nodes to bounce traffic between,
Mhm.
so it's the hardest one to track anybody down on. But that brings up a good point though. Of course, if you're selling something illegal, you don't want your store name something that's going to be tied to you. For instance, Thor Hammerfist is a stupid name for me to sell nuclear weapons under because, well, I own the Twitter and I own the URL for that particular name. Likewise, under communications, you don't want to put your actual email address or your actual website on there either.
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yes.
That's
You are the Dread Pirate Roberts. I don't remember what his ship is called. You are Hagbard Celine on the Leif Erikson. That's your storefront.
I mean, Joe's Nukes would be the obvious name.
Yeah.
Joe's Nukes would be just fine.
Joe's Nukes and surplus self-sealing stem bolt emporium.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, that's kind of a glimpse of a piece of software that's currently in active development that you can use to, in the near future, make some money.